Hi, I'm Yuri Nikolsky. In this video, let's talk about workflow. Yeah, you've heard this before, right? Everyone talks about it. Maybe you want your workflow improved. Maybe you're not efficient enough. Maybe something else. Maybe you need to hire a workflow analyst. But what does it mean? What does the term workflow actually mean? Let's try and figure it out. So, first and foremost, workflow is not specific to imaging. In fact, workflow can be applied just to about any domain, anything at all. Let me give you an example. Say we wanted to construct workflow for making coffee. We can do this, no problem. In order to create a workflow for making coffee, your workflow would sound kind of like this. You're gonna have to go first, get the coffee beans, then grind them, put them into your coffee maker, add water, turn it on, and put the cup or whatever it is you're using to actually get your freshly brewed coffee. And that would be the workflow for making your coffee in the morning. Now, you can think about how this can be improved. Maybe we can automate something. Maybe we can always place the coffee beans there in advance and buy some kind of more, fancier coffee maker that would allow us to start every morning without us having to go and physically push the start button. Now, that can improve things, can't it? Right? Because it doesn't need our involvement now in the morning. Well, let's take that and let's extrapolate this onto the world of medical imaging. And you'll see that it really is applicable. It's just basically, as with anything else, we have to basically take it and put it on steroids. Let's take a simple example. Say you're trying to design a workflow for your CT department, as an example. Well, you're going to have to think of, how are patients getting checked in? Who is going to bring them into the room? Is it ideal for the tech to do this, or can it be some kind of an assistant, like an environmental aid, for example? And there's different considerations here. Could be an environmental aid, but you can also say, well, but you know what? We do a lot of contrast studies. So it kind of makes sense for the techs to go out. They can, have the patient sign the consent and maybe give them oral contrast as an example. But you can see how this is different. It really, at the end of the day, depends on your clinical needs and what's available to you, right? That's another really important thing. It's easy to say that we should always strive for the best. We should. There's no question about it. The problem is that striving for the best requires quite a few dollars and cents, and we have to be mindful of that as well. But we haven't answered the main question yet. What is workflow, right? We kind of talked about it, but is there a definition? And to be honest with you, there's a million definitions. If you were to Google the term workflow, you're probably going to get a million definitions, and they're all viable, they're all workable. I like the one that I think was originally produced by IBM, although don't quote me on that one. And it goes kind of like this. It says that a workflow is the order of steps one has to take in order to get a task done or completed, right? And that's exactly how one should look at it. What are the exact steps that we have to follow to get to the desired outcome? And once you have those steps, that's when you can start analyzing those and you can start figuring out, is this really ideal? Do I need, something else? Can I automate things? And, uh, just so that, automation is usually always good. Again, not everything can be automated, but that comes down to that original idea, is that first you establish the steps that you're aware of that need to be taken in order to actually accomplish what you want to accomplish. And then you start looking at those steps. Can anything be improved? Another thing that's really common is to look at, are we using the right tools? Because the thing is, you can get to where you want to be even if you don't have the right tools. It's not that it will necessarily become impossible. It might, but it also might not. You might be able to still do it. The problem is you're not going to be very efficient or very effective at it. Think about it this way. If you're trying to nail in nails and instead of a hammer, you're using scissors, you're going to be able to do this? I don't know, maybe, but you definitely aren't going to be efficient at this. That is 100% guarantee. So, that is when we take that example and we apply it again to our day-to-day life. This is where we come to realize that we basically need, to figure out what is the ideal tool that our stakeholders need to complete the task that they need. What are those tasks? What are the subtasks that exist? Is there dependencies on other things? So as you can see, workflow becomes a very complicated domain. It seems really simple at first. Oh, we just follow a set of steps and it's all done. Sure. The problem is not that. The problem is identifying the ideal steps that work for your exact institution. Now, how do we do this? How do we go about this? Well, if you talk to a workflow analyst, they'll come in and they'll start with a process known as clinical discovery. Clinical discovery is when you literally go in and talk to the clinical stakeholders and figure out their clinical needs. Then you kind of analyze and figure out how are you going to implement this. And it's an important part here as you shouldn't just use something that was done somewhere else. This may be a very good starting point, but don't just blindly use it. It most likely won't work. And that again, why is that? Well, because every institution is different. Every institution has, we provide different services, we serve different patient populations, we have different established workflows, just maybe analog workflows that we're trying to transition to a digital world. And as you can see, it becomes a fairly complex, time consuming, and oftentimes costly effort. But it definitely is worth it at the end. Because as long as your workflow design is correct and workable for your institution, it is going to serve you for likely years to come. That's why it's so worth it. Anyways, thanks for watching. For more videos just like that, subscribe to this channel, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next video.